Alright, the inmendham video. Yes, it's that time of year again, neuralgia pain thing. Teeth, jaw, whatever. Really bad this year. Thinking something else is wrong, but it's the right time of year. It always is this time of year. I think it's a vitamin D thing, actually. I think you get frayed nerves, and then the vitamin D from the extra sunlight has something to do with the coating on nerves. So anyway, I think it just somehow aggravates those frayed nerves and in my jaw. But anyway, it's like every tooth on the side of my head had a hole in it. It was just yeah. So they still got little holes in them, so it's still not great, but half as bad, which is spectacular and sort of appropriate to the video I wanted to respond to, or videos, and to Contivod made a video. Yeah, it's good timing. Anyway. Yeah, it's all closing in on me. Anyway, so anyway, he made a video. He asked the question, sort of, kind of paraphrasing. Why the difference between us? Why do some people see, oh yeah, that's all worth it? Yeah, okay, so I get burned up in a chemical accident or whatever. Yeah, it's all worth it in the end. It really doesn't matter, you can hardly describe a circumstance so bad where I'll say it's not worth it. Okay, maybe you can, okay. But maybe that's sort of the test, right, is that if you could just say how bad does it have to get? How many of your children would have to die? Speaking of which, brings up Carrie McCarpet, which made another horrible video. I mean, just the, sort of indicating, well, there are some problems with having children, and it seems to be that it's because people in the future will have sex with inanimate objects, and that somehow, they won't know what real love is. Does anybody know what real love is? Seriously, do you know what real love is? Well, as far as I know, I don't think you really do. I mean, I don't think you've found, the music, so to speak, of the romantic life. You haven't gotten lucky, hit the right chord, so to speak. Haven't had somebody hit your right chord, so to speak. And if you did, then you lost it, which is even more, that's even more tragic, so, So what all this bullshit, who cares what people, how people satisfy the addiction, and just not acknowledging that it's addiction that runs us. That's the positive energy is a very negative force. Which does get back to Hoffa, because he was sitting there playing with magnets and implying that there's some vagary about what's magnetic and what's not, and all of that's been described by science. I mean, there's paramagnetic and ferromagnetic, and there's different kinds of magnetism. Kind of sympathetic magnetism that's created, temporary, permanent. These are different. These are words that people are aware of in qualifying it. So he's just trying to create this idea that we don't really know anything, we can't categorize anything because all our categories are false. Like the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit isn't a 50-mile-an-hour. Yes, it is, by a standard, and the standard is this is what the gun says. There's standards for all these qualifications for belonging into a category, and there's certainly things where it's pretty ambiguous. Ugly, hard, smart. These are words that leave lots of ambiguity. But there's more specific words. You can take a specific test. You can do specific things to make the qualification narrow and more exact. And so these categories that we belong into are not undescribable. They're not wishy-washy. And again, I have said this over and over and over again. the argument about the difference between pleasure and torture, those extremes, there's no doubt about it. You can't convert the sensations of the nail in the eye or the getting squished by a steamroller or whatever into anything positive. You just can't do it. The sensations are negative, plainly. And the satisfaction or relief from pain is intrinsically positive, and there's no doubt about the category. So you're just playing a word game, and it's just so, I mean, if that's what you want to be known as, somebody who just cheats entirely, just cheat the argument fundamentally to escape what everybody else in the universe, I would think, every other sentient, would be invested in, which is some acknowledgement that if not all of the price or the game pieces we're paying for aren't pain and pleasure, a big pile of them are pain and pleasure. That bad is causing pain, good is causing pleasure. And ethics is about whether it should be for you or for somebody else, and it's that simple. But most people understand that it's a sensation that we're playing for, a state of mind, comfortable or uncomfortable, and that the goal is this comfort thing. So that gets back to the carrying a carpet thing. I mean, the goal is a comfort thing. Does it matter how you gain your orgasm? No, I don't think it does. It's the quality of the gratification that would matter, not the and that's it. It's the sensation. What makes it? Does it matter whether you enjoy ballet or kickboxing? I mean, I would only argue that it matters in some way where one is, well, they're both consequential torture. I mean, ballet basically forces women to ruin their body, have to have hip replacements, so it is in a way a tragic cruelty. You know, and the boxing thing is just obviously cruel and stupid and a waste. So outside of the implications, I'm just saying to the observer, are you really going to argue that qualitatively it's better that people have fun watching a baseball game or fun watching football games or soccer matches? Come on. I mean, so and you know, so our whole our video was so trivial, like these trivial little problems, like, oh well, you know, the economy maybe, or the world, or maybe you know, like all this little itsy bitsy bullshit has something to do with, like, oh, everybody has to take Prozac or something. Well, who cares if it works? The question is, does it work? But yeah, who cares how synthetic the future's life is? I mean, I would almost argue that this whole internet thing is incredibly synthetic, but you know, it is so much better than real life. I mean, what you can encounter in real life is so narrow and so limited. And even though this is virtually, it's not tangible in the same kind of way, you can't squeeze its nipples, it gets to you in big ways. So I just think her whole argument was crap, and she didn't even get to the basic argument. You see, she just keeps doing this. She's one of these natural livers. There was nothing charming about the natural life. The natural life meant half your kids died. The natural life meant you died. Well, you know, you could possibly live to be 60, but you would die much sooner because you'd be killed by the flu or polio or some other disease you had contracted. It was brutal out there, just brutal. Not all good times, not any good times really. Dirty, smelly, no spas, no saunas, no bathtubs. Natural life is not a really great life. So I just, that whole religion of glorifying nature is just so irritating. So anyway, her argument was just so weak. I mean, good that she's just putting in people's heads, so look, you know, your kid's going to live in a world you don't even understand. You won't be able to understand. So how can you even viscerally live off of their life when you can't even understand what they're doing? and that some elements of it are going to seem so foreign to you, you're going to say, I wouldn't even want to do that. Like you know, you could just show up and see somebody tap dancing and have no understanding of where this came from or why people do it. And you just say, Jesus Christ, I don't want my kid doing that shit. That's pretty queer. You know what I mean? You can't relate to it, so you'd be like, wow, I really am not going to be thrilled if I get to watch my spawn, and I'm supposed to vicariously be doing this wonderful life thing I'm creating, and I'm watching it do something I think is silly, trivial, ugly, bad. Parenting is, and she talked like too, like there's this guidebook to parenting, like there's some kind of way, oh yes, all you have to do is have good intentions and it'll all work out. All you have to do is put in some little elbow grease and it'll all rub right the hell out. Doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. The people who are most obsessive sometimes are the ones who fail the most catastrophically. It's all going to be subject to the nuances of when reality bites them in the face. You know, when, how and when they get sick. You know, what kind of sicknesses. What kind of experiences, what kind of disabilities, what kind of isolation, what kind of rejections. You know, what all those little things are going to be to decide who the character of your kid is going to be. You're not going to have all that much control over it. Unless you get really invidious and start like, all right, well, I'll give my kid, you know, some infectious diseases so he'll be immune later in life. I'll do him a favor and give him a disease so he'll be free of it later. You know, making those kind of decisions. You know, that's, who wants that responsibility? Who rationally wants the responsibility to essentially start those kind of forest fires, you know, controlled fires of pre-programming, because that's sort of what it takes. You got to do these controlled burns, some controlled pain you have to impose on a kid to build its character. And what if that gets out of control? No, I mean, just a dumb argument. So anyway, now back to Antikantavad and the difference between people. So I guess I would argue that the difference between people is that's this perspective thing. You know, some sort of point of view in terms of viewing the things that we're experiencing. Now, you think pain is trivial, and you think ambition is the most important thing in the universe. Where I think ambition is the least important thing in the universe, and pain is the most important thing in the universe. So, and that perspective is made out of not only how we personally experienced life and what realizations we've had about our own character, maybe. See, I personally don't think I have the feeling like I'm Puss in Boots or something, you know, some hero, right? I think it was a hero. The Jedi thing. Yeah, I have some sense of my purpose, but then when I really think about how I viscerally function, I'm a whore. I'm in it for the money. I'm ego driven. I'm vain. I mean, they're all kind of disgusting. These, you know, I like to fuck pussy. I mean, it just isn't brilliant. My ambitions. They're just not. And when you experience the bad days, you know, the last 18 hours for me anyway, whoa, wake up call. That this can get very, very, very bad, very ugly. I mean, realistically, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, if I had a gun in my house, I would have had it out and polished. You know, it was bad. I mean, you're just like, oh, this is just, why am I putting up with this shit? This is, you know, it's just such a waste of this obnoxiousness. And it just shouldn't be experienced. It shouldn't exist. Obnoxious shouldn't exist because there's really nothing worth it. There's no unobnoxious. to compensate for the obnoxious. But like I said, it is a question that you know, you'd have to probably go through quite a lot of psychology to detail the answer to the question. The whole sympathetic thing, the fragility or the vulnerability, and then you get into the whole argument of just maybe some people do experience sensations differently, and maybe you know, maybe the symptoms of physical problems or manifestations or these sensations, maybe they're just not as obnoxious for you. You know, they're just not as mind destroying and loud. They're just, so you can find a kind of tolerance that another person would say that just can't be tolerated. It's insane. But again, that's back to how much we would pay for something. You know, maybe you would pay $300,000 for a Lamborghini. I can't see myself paying more than $4. You know, it's a car. I mean, I really like them, but it's just a car, for fuck's sake. I ain't paying that for it. I ain't paying more than $4 for any damn car. Fuck it. You know. Yeah. So enough of that. So back to Holiday, the terrible criminal. You know. His communications is just so manipulative. Again, to try to imply that we don't have any solid categories, that we really can't tell the difference between, like, even the elements on the periodic table, like there's some sort of ambiguity or fudginess. There really isn't. Certain things are certain things, and the other things aren't that thing, and it's just quite certain, and they're never going to be those things. You know, some of the you're not going to ever. I don't think you're ever going to have, you know, hard helium. I don't think you're going to do it. But anyway, yeah. So again, this whole idea that anything, he blends in the subjects too, which is kind of weird, of determinism and what was the other one? You know, like the argument for free will and some other argument of duality thing or something. And you're saying, well, why are you mixing these three subjects? I mean, can you? They're really not the same subject. I mean, ethics, based on some sort of intrinsic value existing, is a very different argument than whether or not we're determined in our behavior. And it's certainly different than the woo-wooers who, you know, think there's some out of materiality function somewhere. So why bother blending that? Except to imply that to believe in pain as a negative, well, that's like believing in free will, or that's like believing in the woo-woo of magic consciousness. No, it's not. So, again, I just, there's no point in trying to have an argument with somebody who will deny personal experience, the evidence of personal experience. You actually ride the bicycle, you do all this stuff, and then you get off and you say, I don't know what happened. I can't describe anything that just took place. I don't know what a bicycle is. I don't get the concept. I mean, it's just, it's or go to court and pretend. Yeah, you know, you're called into court as an expert on bicycles because you've ridden 50 million miles on a bicycle, and then you pretend you don't know anything about bicycles. You don't call that person a liar. So why play this game that you can't tell the value difference between your sensations, the good ones and the bad ones? I mean, lie some more. Liar, 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 liar. So, I mean, that's all you can say. I mean, it's just such a fucking lie to tell somebody that you can't, and you think it's a religion. If somebody believes there's a difference, between the sensations of broken leg and the sensations of chocolate cream pie, yummy chocolate cream pie, made by grandma or something, fuck you. There's no conversation with somebody that dishonest, and somebody, I mean, even, the irony is even Anticontavad is conceding that these properties do exist. He's just trying to argue that, well, I think it's all worth it because I am one randy motherfucker, and as long as I want to fuck something, I don't care how many fires I have to jump through to get to it, because I really need that gratification. I need that boost. I need some woman screaming my name or something. And it's the desire that keeps him in the game, and he don't see that. He don't see that it's his unsatisfied ambitions that are keeping him in the game. Need. We are need machines. That's all we are. And need and fear. Yeah. But anyway, so there. Enough of a video. Yeah, back to normal soon, hopefully. It really is it's just kind of an extraordinary experience when you go through those, just hours and hours and hours where you can't use your brain and you're just constantly, you keep trying to just say, it's just a sensation, it's just a little jolt. Just let it go through you. Ooh, be at one with the... No, fuck that. You just can't be at one with it. It just doesn't want to be friendly at all. So anyway, enough said. So, till the next time. And I think it's enough said. It was weird, this camera thing I've been doing, and with the webcams. So they all failed the other night, right? All the cameras crashed and blah, 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 and it was really irritating, and I had to re-upload not re-upload, but, you have to redo the app and blah, 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 but all this stuff, and then they would just fail again, so it was just like, oh, I'm wasting time keeping these things running. And then GoDaddy called me, just a courtesy call every now and then to try to call you to sell you something, and I said, well, I'm a little pissed off because blah, blah, blah. And then yesterday was the first day ever that none of the cameras failed all day. I mean, not one. So that was interesting. I mean, they usually always, like after a couple of days or something, one of them would go, and you have to reload it. But all of them kept running for the full day. I've never had that happen. So anyway, it was sort of interesting. And what's related to that? Yeah, doing some different, the programming stuff's got me interested again. So I'm just playing with that. So anyway, I gotta do the physics video, and I was going to do that this video, but I just figured I gotta really have my brain, so I'll wait till the pain is a little bit more gone away, and try to do that. So anyway, till next, I'm just in that very humble, exhausted. Oh man, that was no good. Yeah. Fuck. I really should get out of harm's way, because that was harm. Anyway, until next time.